In the ancient village of Umoji, life once felt stable until everything quietly broke years ago. It started with a crisis. The village was dying. Crops failed. Children became sick. Nothing made sense anymore. The spiritual priests, Izidibia, explained that something in nature had fallen out of balance, and unless it was corrected, the village would collapse completely. At the same time, Ogechi, the wife of Chief Okoro, was in labor, but something went wrong. She was dying during childbirth, and so was the baby. Chief Okoro begged for her life to be saved. Desperate, he agreed to a spiritual solution. Ezedibia performed a ritual meant to stabilize the village, but there was a cost. The imbalance in nature would not disappear. It would be transferred into the child being born. Kambili was that child. Ogechi survived. The village crisis stopped. Everything looked normal again, but the imbalance did not vanish. It stayed inside Kambili. Kambili grew up in Umoji like any other girl. She was soft-spoken, kind, and deeply loved by her mother. Her closest friend was Maji. They did everything together. They laughed, shared secrets, and grew up side by side. And Kambili also shared a deep bond with Agunna, a young hunter who had always protected her. But slowly, something strange began to happen. Small moments started repeating. A greeting would happen twice. A movement would replay itself. A full second would feel like it existed more than once. Only Kambili noticed at first. Then Mmaji noticed too. But she didn't react with fear. She reacted with curiosity. The village began to experience small contradictions. Events no longer stayed consistent. People remembered things differently. Sometimes, reality would slightly shift, then correct itself again. Ezedibia was called once more. When he looked at Kambili, he finally understood the truth. The imbalance from years ago had not disappeared. It had been living inside her all along, and it was reacting to her emotions. He said, "She is not cursed. She is carrying the leftover weight of broken balance. When she feels too strongly, reality bends." Agonna stayed close to her, even when people became afraid. Even when Chief Okoro, her father, began to distance himself in fear. He finally knew the truth, a truth he had spent years trying to forget. Kambili was not a curse. She was the consequence of a choice he had made to save his wife, Ogechi. But in saving her, he had unknowingly tethered their daughter to a broken balance. The village of Umoji began to fracture. Reality became a fragile thing. Events repeated themselves. Loved ones died and woke up alive, their memories rewritten. A child fell into the river, only to appear at home, dry and smiling. No one knew which version of life to trust, and fear spread faster than the shifting itself. But Mmaji was different. While the village prayed for the chaos to end, she watched. She realized that Kambili's emotions were the key. Fear made reality tremble, and anger fractured it. Mmaji began to test this. She pushed Kambili, softly at first, then deliberately, hoping to learn how to shape reality for herself. She didn't want to fix the chaos. She wanted to rewrite it. Then, the night of the New Yam festival, everything collapsed. At the sacred shrine, Time fractured completely. Past and present overlapped, turning Umoji into a nightmare of conflicting realities. Kambili stood at the center, lost and overwhelmed. Agonna reached for her hand, his voice a steady anchor in the storm. "Don't fight it," he whispered. "Breathe." In that stillness, Kambili understood. Reality wasn't broken by power, it was broken by her own instability. When she was chaotic, the world cracked. When she was calm, the world healed. Nearby, Maji watched her ambition crumble. She had tried to master time, only to realize that some things are not meant to be rewritten, only accepted. Kambili closed her eyes. She stopped fighting the flow and simply existed within it. Her fear softened, her breathing slowed, and the fractured timelines began to knit back together. When she opened her eyes, Umoji was whole again. The next morning, the village felt real. Memories unified. Life moved forward in a single steady line. Kambili stood by the river with Agonna, no longer afraid of the burden she carried. Chief Okoro watched from the distance, finally accepting that his past could not be unmade. And Maji, she stood in silence, haunted by how close she had come to destroying everything for a life that wasn't hers to take. That night, Ogechi held her daughter, asking no questions. She finally understood that Kambili wasn't broken. She was simply carrying what the world had failed to balance. From that day on, Kambili lived with such gentleness that time stayed still around her, and Umoji remained whole. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please follow, like, share and subscribe for more unique and enchanting African tales. Until next time, bye!